And welcome into the Thursday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. Hope everybody's off to a beautiful start to this Thursday morning. We got a lot to get into on the program today. Alex Doherty from the Tennessean will be with us at 7:30. We'll get into the Nashville Predators with him. Charles Robinson is off of his European quest and is back, I think, in the United States of America. And he'll be back with us today at 8 o'clock, talking all things NFL. So looking forward to that. Joe Rexrode, how we doing? What's going on?
Well, let's see. Plate broken in the kitchen this morning. A dog ate some leftover food that a kid left on the table that you're not supposed to do. And the air conditioning blew up. And so I'm filling out a service request form right now for Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Well, we very much appreciate their services.
We do
here on this program.
It's so far this website is very user friendly, which I like.
Navigable.
Yeah, and that's a great word.
Thank
you. And if I think that, then that means that it's true.
There's no doubt about that.
Right?
There's no doubt about that. Nick Keyser, how we doing?
Doing well. I also had my own type of fiasco last night too.
Did you?
I did. I was making steak for the wife, and I had two pans heating up at once. And I usually do that and do really well with handling food in the kitchen, right? And I overestimated how quickly our new pots and pans heat up.
Okay.
Wait, over or under?
Oh, like they heat up. What do you mean over?
You said you overestimated how fast they heat up.
I would say I overestimated how quickly it absorbed the heat.
Okay.
So when I was ready to put my steak in, it was the hottest I've ever seen it when I've ever started to make a steak. So when I put my butter in there, that burnt immediately. So I just pulled it away, didn't burn my steak, didn't put the steak in, but nearly could have had a worse catastrophe. So yeah, but Brennan, clean up your food, please. Come on, man.
Wow. Just calling him out.
So the steak ended up okay.
The steak ended up fine. I didn't ruin our food. No.
Good
so
job.
yeah.
Brendan's gonna get it from
awareness
tomorrow when he shows up.
I didn't say his name, by the way. I didn't specify.
He just threw it out there.
There are multiple possible
he's been around
here.
I think he's well aware of the consequence. You know,
I mean, apparently I should probably have you start talking to him, I guess.
Maybe. I don't know.
I did some sleep study action last night.
Yeah.
In Hendersonville, Tennessee. They hooked me up like I was Frankenstein. The brain, the heart, everything hooked up head to toe in wires trying to sleep last night. It was interesting.
So, okay. So last night's sleep compared to a normal night's sleep, better, same, worse?
Probably the same to a little worse.
Okay.
Which I'm cool with. So maybe they can tell me why I can't sleep.
So, okay. So this is a sleep study because of sleep struggles, not worried about sleep apnea.
No, I'm worried about sleep apnea.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Okay.
I don't know for sure that that's what it is, but there have been times where, like in the middle of the night, I just wake up gasping for air. So I don't know what else it would be.
Yeah, that makes sense. I got to do this too. We should have done this as a program.
as a program.
Yeah, but
you take that room, I'll take this one,
and I'll stay home.
Yes. So it was interesting. I've never done an in-lab sleep study before, but like they hook you up to all these wires.
Yeah.
And there's a camera in there watching you the whole night. It took me a while to get over that part of it. I was like, all right, I'm about to go to sleep, and there are some total strangers in the next room just watching me. This is a little strange.
Did you get any snacks? Sure. Did they give you anything?
No, bro.
No,
just got to bring your own stuff. Yeah. I brought my own pillow.
Fair enough.
Change of clothes, pillow.
How was the bed?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had low expectations, but it was fine.
Okay. I mean, it's a place for a sleep study.
You would think.
A good bed,
I mean,
right?
it was basically like it was like staying in a hotel room. That's basically what it was.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you'll get the results when?
I have a follow-up appointment on Monday. I'll let you know how it goes.
All right.
Yeah.
Busy BS has been submitted here.
There we go.
There we go.
Taking care of a lot of business this morning here on the program.
Yes, we are.
We'll take
your stand on business.
That's what we do. And I'm not talking to Josh. Which, by the way, have you heard the story of why he did that? Apparently, like, he told his players that he would do that after the game. So, like, they made him go up there and do it. And he's mic'd up when he's doing it, talking about Eli Drinkwitz. And he says it from, like, 10 feet away and then immediately runs up. We did no business, Josh. He just runs off. Dork.
Yeah.
You're about to replace Shane Beamer in the dork category in the SEC.
Yeah, I remember. I'm trying to remember. I remember him explaining that. So I think that was just at a presser later, right?
Yeah.
The next week or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit. I mean,
I don't even
if you're
think
gonna do
Heupel
that,
heard him.
Hey, Josh, stand on business
Yeah.
in his face. But no, it was like, and he
Don't be a
screwed
coward.
away.
If you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah. But he's still, it can at least be entertaining.
can.
Well, I think Shane can too.
Well, there's certainly some entertaining moments from him. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Just go to TikTok. You can find something.
Yeah.
Got a lot to get into on the program today. Take your thoughts on our phone line again. I promise at some point we will have a text line. When that point will be, I don't know. But at some point we're going to have one. Right now, phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Or you can hit us up in the YouTube chat. A lot of people participating in the YouTube chat this week, which we greatly appreciate. So keep that coming today. Joe Rexrode is now an expert of the YouTube chat.
Yeah, somebody said they like it better.
I know.
So, but I think our own text line would be better. You know?
At least with the text line, like we can, filter out some of the stuff.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we don't have to read everything on the YouTube. We don't read everything on the YouTube.
I mean, we're already off to a roaring start on the YouTube of things I can't read on the air. So.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, let me check it out.
We're off to just a great start on the YouTube as it relates to the the sleep study.
Oh, I can just imagine.
Yeah. Keezer saw it. He's lost it in there. 615-737-1025, our phone number. So we talked about our dark horse candidates in the NFL yesterday in terms of teams that we think could make either surprising run or maybe in my case with the Rams, a deep run into the playoffs. Let's flip it around today. Who are some teams in the NFL that people think are going to be good that you're not necessarily convinced are going to be good heading into the season? Joe Rexrode, would you like to begin with what's the opposite of a dark horse? What do we get to in this discussion?
Yeah, what would be the opposite of a dark horse? A light goat?
We're going to go with that.
Light goat?
Who are your light goat teams?
Who's your light goat?
In the NFL?
Yeah. Well, I know one of your answers, I think you've already kind of
I think you might
said it a few times. And I hear you on that team. Although I still think there's kind of a floor there with them that I think is decent. But I mean, the first team that comes to mind, of course, is the Jets. Because I absolutely think there's potential there for just complete meltdown. And I mean, Aaron Rodgers I just don't know. He's such a walking distraction who talks about the need to get rid of distractions. When we've seen him play, he's still really good. He also, tore his Achilles on play 4 last year. And
he's 40.
Yeah. I can look at them on paper. I mean, I think their defense is fantastic. And there's some really good. I mean, Garrett Wilson's a terrific player. I mean, there's a lot to like about them. But also, I think there's a lot of potential for them to implode. There's a lot of stuff going on internally there. Robert Saleh, I mean, like the leaks in that org, friend of the show and coworker of mine, Diana Rossini. I mean, if you read the story her and Zach Rosenblatt did on the Jets it's something else. The internal stuff going on there. I think they can certainly overcome that and be good on the field, but they're a team that certainly comes to mind as a team that I think most people think are going to be good, but I have my serious doubts. I have to say the Detroit Lions.
I knew you were going to put them in there.
And I do, in all seriousness, I think the Lions are good. And I like what they did in terms of they have some corners now. So you look at the roster and it's good. But the expectation is Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right? So I still have my questions about the overall strength of the defense. Do they have enough pass rush? I mean, Aiden Hutchinson is a good player. Not a great player, but a good player. I still question what they have on the edge. And look, Josh Reynolds, their receiving core, I mean, he came up small in the NFC Championship game, no doubt about it. If he catches a couple very catchable passes, that might be a different result. But now he's gone, and Jameson Williams they are putting all the eggs in the Jameson Williams basket. Obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a great receiver, but on the outside, there's a lot on Jameson Williams. I just don't know if he's ready for that. So I think the Lions are going to be a good team. They're going to be a playoff team, but I think that they're absolutely ripe for being one of the disappointments in the league. I mean, those are the two on either conference that stand out to me. But there's a lot of teams like the Cowboys and Eagles also to me are like, I mean, they're good, but are they going to be great? Have the Eagles peaked? I think everybody's probably picking the Niners to go to the Super Bowl, right?
I would say that, yes, they will be the most popular pick.
And the Lions will be picked by some.
Number 2 in the conference.
And then who's next? The Eagles?
Probably the Eagles.
But I don't know, man. I have my questions about them.
I mean, is anybody going to actually pick Dallas? Or is there going to be somebody that picks the Dallas Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl?
Nah, that's true. So that they wouldn't. They'd be. I guess they're a tough call as a light goat.
Well, I mean, the expectation is going to be that for them. I just is anybody going to, based on their lack of an ability to get anything done come playoff time, is anybody going to actually believe that this is going to happen?
Probably not. So it's yeah. I think this is more about teams that people are going to be very popular. I think everybody thinks that about the Cowboys, and they should. Yeah. They've proved it over and over again. The Ravens, I know, would be, I guess, Kuharski's answer on this. Well, I think he's crazy, but we'll see.
I love the Chargers. They won't even struggle to get to the 7th seed. And then he named about 12 teams that are going to be right there in the playoff mix.
Yeah. I mean, they could get in.
They could.
I mean, I could see that, but this idea that they're just cruising to the playoffs.
In a scenario that I've laid out.
In
a scenario. I'm down on Buffalo. Buffalo, I love Josh Allen. I still think Josh Allen is one of the great quarterbacks in this league. And you're right. There's probably a floor there because of that. They're probably they're not going to be bad when Josh Allen is their quarterback. I do think that there is a chance that they don't make the playoffs. I think there's a chance that Buffalo, based on the quality that I think exists in the rest of the conference, and based on the quality on paper that I believe is in their division with Miami and right now with the New York Jets, before everybody gets hurt or disaster sets in, there's still plenty of ability there. I think there's a chance that Buffalo doesn't make the playoffs. I think Buffalo is probably still going to be the most popular pick to win that division, but I'm not necessarily sold. To me, they've been a very good team. Although if you watch them last year, they really kind of underachieved throughout most of the season, and then they started to figure out late, and then it was the same story in the playoffs where they're right there with another chance to win, and they couldn't finish it off against Kansas City. And now you've lost Diggs. So how big of a loss is that going to be? Could that be addition by subtraction in terms of pretty clearly it started to go the wrong way between Diggs and the rest of that organization? So I guess you could leave open the possibility that maybe in some way they're better off without him, but he's a heck of a player, and I think they're going to have a hard time overcoming that loss.
Yeah. There's a lot of addition by subtraction talk, but the thing is, then you have to have talent replacement.
Right.
Now, I'm intrigued by Keon Coleman. I like him a lot. Can he come in as a rookie and be that big of a? It's a totally different kind of player, not a burner, but a big physical guy who is going to win a lot of 50-50 balls. By the way, Anthony Scott says opposite of Dark Horse is front runner. Yeah, I kind of like Light Goat though.
I think Light Goat, we may have birthed something today here on the program.
Yeah, but we will not birth what Deagle said on the YouTube chat.
We will not. 615-737-1025, our phone number. I've got a couple of more candidates that I want to throw out there in terms of teams I think may be a little overrated heading into this year. We'll get to that coming up next. Take your thoughts as well. 615-737-1025. Which teams in the NFL do you think are maybe overrated heading into this season? We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning. Nick Keyser getting a little spicy in the YouTube chat. He's just barking at people.
I said
You're 15 minutes in the show. He's getting after everybody on the YouTube chat.
Said Keyser's got some morning bark.
A lot of morning themes on the chat.
More bark than bite, I think. I don't know. I might need to start using Keyser as a disciplinarian in my home.
Maybe so.
Maybe that's the answer.
I did have two brothers growing up, so you know
That is true.
could definitely use some smack talk at the Rexrode household.
Did you throw them around when needed?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
We got to the point of just smack talking at some point, but you know, there was a time and place where we used to throw hands.
Throw it down a little bit?
Yeah. It happens.
Oh, it definitely happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One time when we were growing up, I have two brothers, one of which is significantly younger than me and the other like 2 years younger than me. So when me and the middle brother were growing up, there was one time he just kept talking too much while we were getting ready in the bathroom, brushing our teeth. I just turned around and socked him right in the jaw, knocked him through the shower curtain.
Hey.
Right as my mother was walking by. It did not go well for me after that.
Whew. Well, since we're confessing things like this, my brother, who's 4.5 years younger than me, one time we got in a fight over Nintendo, and I punched him right between, like right here, and he had two black eyes. I'll tell you something. The grounding off that one. Whew.
A 2-for-1
We
special.
still talk about that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
Joe Rexrode
you're gonna hit somebody, make it count. That's what you learn on the Robby and Rex.
Joe can
program.
smack you in the forehead and then give you two black eyes and cross you up on the basketball court.
Yeah.
Watch out, folks.
A lot of physical talent.
That's like I think that was like a 9th grader punching a 5th grader. Is that right? Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Here you go, child. Bam.
It's my turn on Super Mario.
Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025, our phone number. Do you think, I'm going to throw a candidate out there that I don't know that I necessarily buy is overrated, but I think certainly if a situation that we've talked about a lot this offseason plays out, could definitely end up being overrated. What about Houston?
Yeah.
Houston's going to get a lot of love
They're a
heading into all
candidate.
this. They're going to be universally picked to win the AFC South, and deservedly so. They won it last year. They've gotten better on paper. There's no doubt about it this offseason. But this is year 2 for CJ Stroud, and we've seen it. Look, we've seen it in Nashville. A quarterback that's looked great in his first year, and then it starts to go the other way a little bit, and there's a sophomore slump or whatever you want to call it. I don't necessarily believe that we're going to see that from Houston, but I'm also with the people that say, why don't we see CJ Stroud do it again before we just anoint him as like a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League? What do you make of those who would say Houston fits the category that we're talking about?
Yeah. I'm picking them high. I think they're going to be good. You force me to, to bet on it. I'd bet on them winning the AFC South and being really good. I've seen some people put them like right after Kansas City in the AFC.
Yep.
And that to me is a little bit lofty. Look, we just talked about Buffalo and Diggs. Well, if it really is two things, and this happens, look, when A.J. Brown left here, there was a lot of, he'll never stay healthy. Blah, he's going to be a problem and all this stuff. And we saw what happened. But two things that you do hear about Diggs. One, the addition by subtraction thing. And we saw it played out. He can be tough to get along with. I don't think there's any doubt, right? And then also just that he is diminishing as a player. Well, if he is diminishing and it doesn't go well for him and he becomes like a problem and gets mad at CJ Stroud and all that stuff, okay, you could see where that could hurt them. But yeah, you look at up and down the roster, it's pretty good. But if that's true of him, then all of a sudden their receivers who definitely overachieved last year may not be all that great. I do like their defense a lot. I like their coach a lot. So I think there's a floor for them too, where it's like, I'd be shocked if they don't win 9-10 games. Even if things go poorly.
Yeah.
But I could see that. And if that's the case, then that's a pretty big disappointment if that team goes 9-8 or 10-7.
And here's the other one that, Kuharski talked about being high on yesterday. I think the roster's great, but I'm interested to think if this even counts for you in the discussion. Like, to me, if you have high expectations for the Cleveland Browns, I could absolutely see them totally falling apart just based on their quarterback play.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I think most people are just bewildered by what's happened with him, and it's just like, I don't know. Well, let's see.
And those red zone numbers we tried out there the other day where he's just missing passes left and right in the red zone, 60% inaccurate pass rate.
Yeah, that's wild. Again, I want to see the raw numbers on that, but yeah, I'm sure there are some people who have. I just don't know if they count because I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of people who think that they're a contender. Now, if he's pretty good, if he's pretty good to good, which you would think would be possible for Deshaun Watson,
you would think,
based on his entire history of playing in the NFL, then I think their roster is really good, really strong. Look, they lost a key guy who last year was probably one of the most impressive years of his career because I think they went through what they have, like 4 or 5 left tackles.
Yep.
That's Bill Callahan. How much of a loss is that? But their defensive lineup is really strong. Anybody who is looking at them and saying, "Oh, they are a contender with Deshaun Watson at quarterback," I don't know. I can't go there.
On the NFC side of things, I think you hit on the two big ones. Philadelphia, I'm really interested to see how that goes. I think there's a lot of pressure on Sirianni this year heading into this. And they started off, last year started for them as good as the year before was.
10-1, right?
It looked like it was going to be just a march right back to the Super Bowl for them. And then they played against San Francisco and just got absolutely destroyed. And they never really seemed to recover from that.
Yeah.
And then Detroit, I think Detroit has a good enough roster and a good enough coaching staff, despite their head coach's inability to either kick a field goal or punt the football. I think there's a baseline for how good they're going to be. I really do believe this. I do believe there is a good chance that that division comes down to the very end between them and Green Bay. I think Green Bay is going to be pretty good this year.
No doubt. No, I think so too. I think they're both pretty close to lock playoff teams, just especially in that conference. I think the AFC is going to beat up on the NFC a lot in the cross conference play. And I think those teams are both absolutely playoff teams. I'm confident. I'm confident in those two. I'm pretty confident in obviously Niners, but Niners and Rams, I think.
And I don't know that anybody in the NFC South qualifies for an overrated discussion heading into all this.
Yeah, that may well be a one bid division. But I think Bucks Falcons will be a good. Right? There's some teams that I just don't know what to expect from. The Saints are one of those teams. The Seahawks, I feel like no one talks about the Seahawks, but are they going to be bad? Probably not bad, right?
Yep.
Even the Giants, you could make a case for them to not be trash.
Jacksonville, no clue. I have no idea.
Jacksonville's like the Seattle of the AFC.
Yeah.
They're both there's a lot of things to like about them, but you just kind of forget about them, which is wild because a year ago Jacksonville was the team we talked about, the way everybody's talking about the Texans now.
Yeah.
But I just feel a lot more confident in the Texans actually following through on that than I do about Jacksonville, because we know they didn't.
That is true. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We got more of your thoughts to get to on this in our YouTube chat. We'll do that coming up next. Most overrated teams in the NFL heading into the season. Plus, I saw something last night, at least the beginning of something last night, that I am now convinced needs to be an annual tradition in the National Football League. Move aside Hard Knocks. Something else has entered the fray. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, broadcasting live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. What a lovely song coming back. Good job, Keezer.
Duran Duran's always good.
Hey, man. Better than Nickelback? Worse than Nickelback? What do we think?
Nickelback can't hold one of the Durans, let alone both of the Durans.
Probably not.
By the way, let's get Vrabel on the show. Not do anything.
Yeah, I know.
If there was ever a time, I told that man, hey, man, looking forward to having you on the show again. And he said probably not. But he probably didn't anticipate that that time 3 years later he wouldn't have a job. So
yeah,
let's get him on the program.
Probably not. I'd love to have him on the show.
I would too.
At some point, someone's going to get an in-depth interview with him, but he's a little squirrely.
A little bit. Taking your thoughts. 615-737-1025. Dustin on the YouTube chat, which is lively this morning. We all know our Titans can't suck worse than the nation thinks we're going to suck. No respect. This is from Dustin on the text line. I mentioned nobody in the NFC South qualifying for the overrated discussion. I can tell you the Tennessee Titans certainly are not going to be overrated heading into the 2024 NFL season.
Yeah, they will not be part of this discussion at all. Dustin continues at Houston when he thinks that Houston will win the South, but he says if Levi's matches our wide receiver talent, the South is going to be on fire.
I would agree. Shout out to Levi's.
Get those tough skins on.
How long do we think that's going to be an autocorrect for people?
Can you make it not an
I
autocorrect?
don't know. I would imagine if you use it enough, eventually your phone will recognize that you're actually trying to say Levis, but I don't know that. Maybe not.
Well, let's see.
Maybe you've not used it enough yet.
Yeah, I feel like a fair amount, I guess. I don't know. How much do you text about Levis,
Not a ton.
Yeah, but here I go.
More about Levi's jeans.
Unless it with
There you go.
Stillman.
Yep. Quickly. I just texted both you guys. Will Levi's. So
there we go. There it is.
It's going to be a while. Billy Jeans, baby. Billy Jeans. Is he ready to break out?
Joe, I saw the first episode last night of Receiver on Netflix. So they did the quarterback last year with obviously Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and good old Marcus, the triumvirate last year of quarterback. I was hoping that quarterback would be the one that they would do every year, but receiver, I have high hopes for. I saw the first episode last night. So this year, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown in Detroit. It's Kittle and Deebo Samuel in San Francisco, Devontae Adams with Vegas, and then Justin Jefferson in Minnesota. So I just saw the first episode last night, which basically focuses on George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. It was really good. Really, really good. So I have high expectations for the rest of the receiver season, and I thoroughly enjoyed quarterback last year. I thought, obviously Mahomes was the star. I grew to really appreciate Kirk Cousins in that show last year.
Yeah.
So I loved the quarterback that Netflix put together last year with that I believe is executively produced by Peyton Manning. He also executively produces this one, makes a very quick cameo in episode 1, and then Randy Moss takes over. But I think this has a chance to be pretty good.
Okay. Good. That's great. I'm in. I will check
George
it
Kittle,
out.
as you can imagine, is made for the camera.
Yeah. No, I can see him being entertaining. I can see St. Brown being really good. He's a pretty fascinating guy. So yeah, cool. Are they gonna like rotate this? They'll get around to like.
That's what I'm wondering. Like
nose guard.
Is next year is going to be like safety, like what kicker? Then we might be getting a little bit too far out. Although now that I think about it, kicker could be pretty interesting.
There's got to be 3 interesting guys who kick in the NFL.
I would assume so. Like I would assume that they're going to eventually want to get back into the quarterback part of this. But receiver, first off, I think there's a lot of really good options around the league for receiver. I mean, A.J. Brown be a pretty interesting option. I'd watch that. But, quarterback is obviously the headliner position. But I think the way they do it and like how much access they have following some of these guys around is pretty cool. Like
that's what it's
they're
all
over
about.
the place with George Kittle and Deebo Samuel, and they got behind the scenes interviews from, Kyle Shanahan and Dan Campbell and all these guys. It was pretty cool just for episode 1 last night.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about, I think we were just talking yesterday, Hard Knocks to me has been neutered by the teams, by certain teams being upset with if you go back to some of the earlier seasons of Hard Knocks, the Jets season with Rex Ryan, I think is probably the best.
Yep.
But the Cowboys season with Campo, like there was some stuff in those that you're like, holy cow, you were waiting for the next episode, and it's been completely sanitized now. So maybe this is the better way to do it. Is you get through with individuals who are giving you access, and you don't have to worry about an entire team trying to cut you off at every moment. Then you get better actual access and real conversations and situations.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm only 1 episode in, so we'll see how the whole thing goes here.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the first episode. And then, look, Devontae Adams in Vegas, they really didn't touch on him at all in episode 1. Neither did they with Justin Jefferson. So I think episode 2 is basically on those guys. So, I mean, look, Justin Jefferson, I think you can make a pretty good case when healthy is the best wide receiver in football. So it makes a lot of sense to follow him around. I think prior to him being the best wide receiver in football, Devontae Adams was the best wide receiver in football. So you're talking about that's the other part of this. Like high-level guys saying yes and doing it, I think is a good thing.
Yes.
And I think, first off, when Patrick Mahomes can do it, and quarterbacks just kept saying no to it.
Yeah.
So my
Who? Do
thing
you
is,
remember?
I don't remember exactly who, but there was a few that came out and said that they did say no. I want to say Love was one of them. Jordan Love. So it's a little bit disappointing there. But my thing, like if Patrick Mahomes can do it, you can do it.
Exactly.
I promise. And by the way, he won the Super Bowl the year he did it. So there's that too. But if Patrick Mahomes can say yes to that and be fine with cameras following him around everywhere, anybody else in the league can do that.
You would think, right? Yeah.
You would hope.
Yeah. Well, this is this should be good. Is it? Did they drop the whole thing, or they're actually dropping it episode by episode?
I think I need to go back and look. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I was in the sleep study place, wired up last night, watching episode 1 of Receiver.
Oh,
There you
okay. This is not what put you to sleep, is it?
It is not.
Okay.
It's not what put
All
me
right.
to sleep.
That's good.
It's good stuff. 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. The best and worst things in sports. Coming up next, we'll take your phone calls. 615-737-1025. Your best things, your worst things in the world of sports. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game.
The best and worst of the sports week. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is the worst.
You look like you're feeling sorry for yourself.
He's one of one. He is him.
This is a Coke bottle. It's not a crystal ball.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
Okay, let's go.
It is that time of the week, time for the best and worst things in sports. We'll take your best things, your worst things on our YouTube chat. Hit up our YouTube chat with your best and worst things in sports, or give us a call, 615-737-1025. Our phone number, our phone line, as always, is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joe Rexrode, kick us off with your best and worst things in the world of sports.
All right. Well, I guess I could try to play the go back a week because I wasn't here card and do the Pred stuff, but I won't do that. That was last week. So my best is the WNBA. I'm watching the WNBA like never before. I was actually in Virginia, my brother's house, when we put on the Fever Liberty game and watched the whole thing. And Caitlin Clark had the first rookie triple-double, I think, in WNBA history. And I do get frustrated watching the Fever some because, like, at some point as a coach, you have to take her off the ball some, and you have to run some sets for her and not let her get beat up the entire game with the ball in her hands and have the wear and tear. Like, it's like, again, just watch Steph Curry, who came in as a point guard, and how his career has played out. But anyway, that's a discussion for a different day. I've just really enjoyed the heck out of it. And Angel Reese has set the double-doubles record, and we got a great race for Rookie of the Year. And so I'm thumbs up. This is a better sports summer anyway. I mean, I've been watching some of the soccer, the Euros and Copa America stuff, and we have the Olympics coming. So you've
been watching the Euros?
Yeah, I have.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, I was like, my brother-in-law played college soccer. He's a big soccer guy, big soccer family. So maybe that's part of why it was on the
I just
TV.
didn't know if you had adopted France as your team or something. I don't know what's going on.
Nothing like that. But I really enjoyed the Argentina, who the heck did almost upset them? And then Messi missed his penalty kick and they still won. Anyway, it's a pretty good summer for sports relative to most summers, but the WNBA is a big part of that. My worst in sports, just the tragedy of Kyrie Jackson dying in a car crash, Vikings rookie, and also, by the way, two former college football players, Isaiah Hazel, Anthony Litton Jr. You've seen the pictures of the car. Just an awful situation, and all the details aren't out, but it looks like it's tragic, regardless of the circumstances. I will throw into Mike Gundy.
Yeah.
I hesitate, I guess, but I'll throw him in because, oh man, that guy. First
off, the hair is looking great.
Yeah. Ollie Gordon, who's going to be one of the best players in college football this year, had a DUI arrest.
Yes.
There's a theme here. It's like, again, especially in this day and age, we got to get past this. But Gundy put his foot in his mouth and basically said, I've done that a bunch of times. And then he later said he was just talking about mistakes in general. But anyway, Ollie Gordon, he brought him to Big 12 Media Days, which actually I don't hate that. I don't hate the idea of, hey, answer for your mistake. But Gundy,
he also said after he made those comments about, I've done that thousands of times. He was in an interview with somebody else with ESPN and was talking about what a potential punishment could look like for Ollie Gordon. And the quote was, quote, "If there's any punishment, it's going to make him carry the ball 50 times in the first game." Right. It's like, welcome back, college football, baby. If there's any punishment for this guy, we're going to give them the ball as much as humanly possible. That's the punishment.
Yeah. The quote, he was trying to look at his blood alcohol is 0.11, I think.
Yes.
Said, quote, "But I thought, really, 2 or 3 beers or 4? I'm not justifying what Ollie did. I'm telling you what I'm telling you what decision I made. I thought I've probably done that 1,000 times in my life, which is fine. So I got lucky. People get lucky. Ali made a decision that he wished he could have done better, end quote. And, of course, people have gone nuts about that. Again, he later said, I was just talking about mistakes in general. He's a man. He's 50-something.
Yeah, he is. We need an update from Mike Gundy on how old is he now. Just yell it out there one good time.
Yeah. He'll yell
I'm
something
man.
out.
I'm 56.
I guess it was 16 years ago. So, yeah, there you go. He's 56.
Nick Keyser, your best and worst things in the world of sports.
That's hard to top, but I do have one that I saw from Twitter yesterday, but I'll get to that in just a second. But I'll start off with, because I've been around so many people that have talked about this game, but I'm excited about the new NCAA football game. All right. It comes out July 19th. I think it's in 4 days.
I gotta stop letting you people go first.
Yeah, well, 4 more days till the deluxe version comes out, something like that. So I'd say that's the best. I saw a short clip of Big Red running out, by the way. So I'm excited for that.
Shout out to Western Kentucky.
Yeah, man. They got lots of good details in that one. It looked exactly like the Houch is what we call it back up there on campus. So looking forward to seeing how much detail there is there. My worst in sports, Alex Doherty, who we'll have on at 7:30, reported this yesterday, but more on Greg Johnson, how he had CTE from his playing days. And that definitely sucks. Last year, I talked to a lot of different former Preds alums about his passing and what he meant, and that definitely sucked. That came out yesterday. I knew that there was something mentally going on with him for sure, just after talking to a lot of players last year, but definitely not great. Now, the one quick nugget I'll share that I saw from Elijah Campbell, I thought this was kind of just funny to read. He quote tweeted Who with the Snoop Dogg with the GIF, but he was quote tweeting Michael Kopech is the first White Sox pitcher to record an immaculate inning since Sloppy Thurston in August of 1923. Yeah, Sloppy Thurston. That's that's a real name. I just looked it up too.
Immaculate inning? Is that
yes.
9 pitches? What is that?
Yeah,
I think that is 9 pitches.
I think
Just
so.
9 strikes.
Immaculate inning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Okay, Sloppy Thurston.
Yeah.
Shout out to the White Sox. That has to be from like 1875. What year was that?
He said
It says 1923.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did say that?
His
Sorry,
real
I didn't see.
name is Hollis John. So there you go. Yeah.
Wow.
Shout out to the White Sox. Ghost team.
Yeah, they still suck. It's great.
My best thing in sports was going to be in college football 25 coming out before Keyser listed all his million things that he just talked about there. So college football 25, if you're of a certain age, it's a big day for you coming up July the 19th. It's been a long time, 10 years since they've had a college football video game come out. I'm looking forward to this. All the videos I've seen have been pretty cool of the gameplay, and they've got Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit and David Pollock and all these different people involved with it. So it's going to be really
David
cool.
Pollock, yeah.
David Pollock,
throwback.
Yeah, he's in there. So we'll see what all that looks like, but it looks pretty cool. I'm excited about it. I was going to talk about how much this time of the year kind of sucks, but I also go honorable mention best in sports is Wimbledon. I love me the Wimbledon tournament.
Yeah, there's another one. Yeah, it's been fun.
It's been fun. So I am looking forward to the Olympics coming up here in a couple weeks, but I'll be honest with you, I like the Winter Olympics more than I do the Summer Olympics. Big Winter Olympics person.
I don't think that's some people think that would be a huge hot take. I don't think it's a huge hot take. I think it's close.
I mean, it's basically just because of the hockey,
right?
For me. Somebody on YouTube says the best, number one, is the YouTube chat. Number two, Stillman being off the air a few days. And the worst is Adam Vingan still isn't a full-time employee for the station. Kind of feels like he is.
I was going to say, are you sure he's not? He works
like
more than
6 weeks in a
anybody
row.
here.
Yeah. I mean, don't yell at us about that. Get after the suit.
Yeah. Whenever you can.
And somebody, Casey,
we will
on
send him a
YouTube
telegram.
Is yes, talking about Stillman. I couldn't disagree more. Stillman being on the radio is like a gift for most of us. This is from Casey on YouTube.
That's a very, Jared, that's a very good
good
burner name. I
Yeah.
like that.
Right. Jared, for somebody who's on vacation, Jared has been texting me a lot this week about sports. I'm like, hey, are you off?
Is he doing a staycation?
I don't know what he's doing.
Somewhere?
I have no idea where he is. I just know that I'm getting texted a lot about sports from Jared Stillman this week while he's on vacation.
What did he text me about the other day? He texted me about something too. And I was just like, What?
Go enjoy your vacation.
Yeah.
I think he's been a captain on his boat lately. That's my guess.
Well, we know that he's a big fan of boating season around here. A lot of different lakes to choose from around here.
Oh yeah, he texted me about my A+ grade for Trots on the Athletic.
Oh,
An A+. Wow.
Did
And
you-
then I said, "What's your grade?" He said, A-. Okay.
okay. We talk about the biggest Barry Trotz Bobo in the whole station.
Yeah, exactly.
Jared
Well,
Stillman.
and then his justification for that is he didn't love like the Soros extension or whatever. Like, well, that's not this. We were grading free agency. That's not part of free agency.
No, he
Right?
didn't make it free agency.
Yeah. So
Still a year left on the deal.
it's an A+. I'm sorry, folks. That's what it is.
615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll have Alex Doherty from the Tennessean coming up at 7:30. We'll get into the Predators with him. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports to begin the 8 o'clock hour, talking Titans and all things NFL. Coming up next, we're going to get into a little college football, the most fascinating coaching headlines heading into the 2024 season. And there is some of your usual suspects making the list. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning. Alex Doherty from the Tennessean coming up at 7:30. We'll get into the hot topics with the Nashville Predators with him. Charles Robinson at 8 o'clock talking Titans and all things NFL. Taking your thoughts all show long, 615-737-1025. Our text line still not operational. So hit up our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, or join us in the YouTube chat where it has been spirited all morning here on the program. 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, college football season right around the corner. We've been discussing it all week long. SEC Media Day is coming up next week, which will feature, I'm sure, some interesting comments maybe from some of these coaches that we're getting ready to talk about. As we look ahead into this season, I do think there's one coach that probably stands out above the others as in relates to just storylines heading into this year. But as you look at the college football landscape, the changing of the conferences, Texas, Oklahoma joining the SEC, the nice regional matchups in the Big Ten that feature teams on the West Coast playing teams on the East Coast, all these different things. What are some coaching storylines, some coaching headlines that excites you, that gets you fired up for college football season heading into this year?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest coaching stories, obviously every year that the hot seat is one of the things we talk about. We talked about Clark Lee yesterday.
Yep.
So there's that. But yeah, look, I think you start with Deion Sanders, and I am all over the place. Maybe like a lot of people, maybe you're like me. I thought it was going to be a disaster. And then last year I was like, oh my gosh, his pregame speeches are amazing. They just beat TCU. TCU is supposed to be like a 10 or 11 win team this year. Holy crap. He's got, his kid is a really good player at quarterback, and Travis Hunter might be the best player in the game, et cetera, et cetera. And then they got destroyed by Oregon and won one more game the rest of the year and went 4-8, which is still a huge jump. But I have come all the way back around to I don't think it's going to work. And a lot of it is his approach to recruiting.
Total disregard of high school recruiting.
Yeah. There's no way that's going to work. I understand how important the portal is, but like, there's just no way in my mind. And if he proves me wrong, great. If you aren't still just as devoted to high school recruiting, especially in football, I just don't think that's ever going to change. He's got Hunter and he's got Shedeur Sanders this year, and I think they're both. Hunter is definitely a first round pick. I mean, Hunter is a special player, probably a corner in the NFL, but I don't know. I mean, he could be a receiver too. He's that good. I think Shedeur Sanders is probably a first round pick, but now when you
I need to see a whole lot more from him before I'm wrapped up in some of the hype he's getting right now. I don't for the life of me understand it.
Yeah,
like, he's not that good. I don't understand it.
He's pretty good, man. I mean, is he like top 5? Clearly the top guy in the draft? No, but I think he's talented. I mean, you know how it goes with quarterbacks in the NFL draft. I think he's definitely. I'll be shocked if he doesn't go in the first round next year. I mean, I think he's really good. I don't know that I'd build my whole franchise around him, but regardless, these guys are going to be gone, and then I don't know where this is going for Deion. So this year is going to be fascinating. I mean, you better win pretty big this year. You better, and they've got some other good players, but you better win. And obviously, he's
new conference for them too, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're in the Big 12 again. So I think the last time they were there was the Big 8. I don't know. I guess not. I guess it was the Big 12.
I guess.
But yeah, they're back. They're back there. So to try to keep track of that. So I mean, they're again going to be right up there among the weekly most important stories. Chef Rand says Deion's the man who is definitively better than Colorado in the Big 12. Oh man, he's mad at you. Look at the stats. 27. Is that right? That he had 27 TDs and only 3 picks last year? He threw only 3 picks? I didn't know that. I think he's good. Oh, that's funny though. Like, I guess people think Carson Beck is, and I
don't buy that either.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know.
But
I
think
the real answer is I don't know. As we sit here today, Like last year at this time, we knew that Caleb Williams was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft.
And that
I don't
May
know
was
that
gonna
that
go
person
high.
exists this year.
No, for sure. No, this quarterback draft will definitely be a step back from the last one. I mean, especially when you had Jaden Daniels emerge. Now,
Right.
someone will emerge.
Somebody's
going to
emerge, yes.
And even like J.J. McCarthy,
Right.
I certainly didn't think he was going to be a first-round pick 1 year ago, right? So, but we'll see. I think he's definitely a first-round pick, and I think he's good enough for that. Who is definitively better than Colorado in the Big 12? Yeah. I mean, that's a
Who's
fair
in
question.
the Big 12?
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, they've
Yes,
got
exactly.
Arizona and Arizona State, right? I think they got Arizona and Arizona
Shout out
State.
to Oklahoma State.
Sure.
Mike Gundy, we were talking about him earlier.
Yeah, actually, Oklahoma State, I mean, all their flaws and stuff aside, they actually could be pretty good.
Well, and also, like, who's definitively better than the team that went 4-8 last year? I'm sure you could probably find a couple.
I mean, honestly, this is a great exercise for everybody who is into college football. Just go ahead and like read through each conference and just let yourself know
It's unbelievable
who is in every conference. So let's do that right now with the Big 12. So the Big 12 now is Arizona, Arizona State, BYU, Baylor, Cincinnati, Colorado, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, UCF, Utah, and West Virginia.
Yep.
Of course. That's a totally reasonable conference of teams.
Why not?
You got West Virginia over here. You got Arizona, Arizona State, BYU, and Utah over there. You can go way down to get to Houston and Texas Tech. You can move on up to Ohio and gets a little Cincinnati. No, it totally makes sense.
What's the win total? The projected win total for Colorado this year? Let's look it up.
Yeah, what is
I
the
have
over-under?
it. What's your guess?
The over-under
For the
on
team that
Colorado?
apparently is just definitively better than everybody in the Big 12.
Well, I would still think, and I don't have their schedule for me, but like, guys, it's got to be 6.5, 7.5.
The over-under is 5.5 wins.
5.5.
Because they're not very good. That's what I've been. Go look at their roster.
Yeah.
Their roster is they have Shedeur Sanders, they have Travis Hunter, they have Shiloh on the other side of the ball, and that's about it.
They have
They're not very good.
they've got the linebacker who's
Yeah.
supposed to be really good. Who
The
Deion
over-under is
thinks could
5.5
be a
wins.
First-round pick.
So the battle is to become bowl eligible for Colorado.
And of course, now that question has been posed, though, now I am wondering who is good in the Big 12.
I mean,
this
I
year?
would
Is the
assume.
Big 12 just total trash?
I mean, yes. First off, I would assume like Oklahoma State, their over/unders 8.5 wins.
Are they the favorite?
Let's see here. I mean, by the numbers, it looks like they are the favorite. No, it would be Utah. Utah's the favorite.
Oh yeah. Oh duh. Yeah.
Utah.
Yeah.
I forgot they're in the Big 12.
Exactly. Like when that was when he said that, I was like, well, now that you mention it, but yes, we should dunk on Chef Rand.
Utah's
Yeah,
over-under, by the way, is 9.5.
Utah is definitely better than. I mean, Cam Rising is back. Yeah, that's clearly the favorite of the Big 12 that I didn't even know what the heck the league looked like.
Of the FanDuel Sportsbook odds, Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Kansas, Iowa State, UCF, Texas Tech, Arizona, West Virginia all have better odds. Oh, and TCU all have better odds in Colorado.
Other than that, Chef Rand,
Other than
you're
that,
really onto
all
something.
over.
Now, look, Deion does think that the offensive line is way better, and they got the Bengals secondary coach to be their DC. They had the whole OC thing last year, and Pat Shurmur. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan personally of Pat Shurmur. I don't know. We'll see how that works out with him as OC. But as far as ranked teams, yeah. And actually, yeah, Arizona could be a pretty good team. So, yeah, there's a lot of teams here that Jalen Daniels is back at Kansas. So, I don't know. It's a huge year. If Deion does not win big this year, I just think the writing's on the wall. And it's just going to end up being that Deion, you could still, if you're Colorado, say, hey, people have talked about Colorado football the last couple of years more than they did since Darian Hagan and Eric Bieniemy and Bill McCartney those days. So that's great. But it looks like to me like it's going to just basically be Deion coming in, getting some money and getting out of there, and then it's just going to go back to a disaster.
I
That's my guess.
largely like Dion. Like, I think he's pretty funny. Like, and
Yeah.
I think he's a good football coach. I don't know that he's a good program builder, right? Like, does he actually? I mean, so far the answer would be no, just based on the results. Like, but does he actually care about sticking around and building a program in terms of the high school recruiting and everything that goes into it? Like, there are people that think that once his sons are gone, that he's just going to move on.
Mhm.
I
And
don't know
he
what he's
can.
going to do.
He certainly can.
Yeah, I don't know what how long he wants to. I mean, he doesn't have to do anything. I don't know how long he wants to get in this. I don't know if he's at Colorado for the long haul or if he's looking for the next job, or I don't know what his motivation is. But if you're going to get the next job, like, don't you kind of have to win
Oh,
at
you
Colorado?
do. Yeah. I mean, a year ago, even like when it was still going well for them, it was like, okay, which major program is poaching Dion?
Right.
And I think he's poachable. I mean, he had a lot to say about HBCUs and, and how important that was to him. And then, okay, I'll go to Colorado. It's not like Colorado is some job where, I mean, it's a Power 5 job. So
Sure.
there's a lot more advantages, but still, I mean, I think that he absolutely would go to a bigger program than Colorado. But yeah, I don't think he's going to have that opportunity. And look, I'm here to be proven wrong because I keep changing my opinion on him. But I think this is headed toward, well, thanks for the memories, Dion. It was a fun couple years, and Colorado stinks again.
Well, it was at least it was a heck of a television event. And I will say this, like I said, Shador's good. I don't know that I'm not convinced he's first round pick good. I'm certainly not convinced that he's number 1 overall pick good that some people are talking about. Travis
he's
Hunter
a little
is
bit
an
on the
absolute
small side.
stud.
Yeah.
Like, Hunter is
Oh, he's
unbelievable.
incredible.
Yeah. 615-737-1025. We'll get to more coaching storylines heading into the 2024 college football season coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Alex Doherty from the Tennessean will join us coming up at 7:30. We'll get into all things Nashville Predators with him. Taking your thoughts on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We are live from our 102.5 The Game studio, brought to you by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Discussing the top storylines in the coaching world heading into the 2024 college football season. We've discussed the Deion Sanders part of this. Joe, as you look at the rest of the landscape of college football heading into the season, what are some other coaching storylines that stand out to you as we sit here today on July the 11th?
Well, maybe I'm just a negative person because I think about this in terms of coaches, in the hot seat. We've talked about Billy Napier. Now, friend of the show, Dennis Dodd, he does this every year. He does his hot seat rankings, which I enjoy. And he has a rating system of like 5 down to 0. 5 is like 5, the way he describes it, is win or be fired.
Yeah.
Down to like 0, like untouchable. You get to like 4, start improving now. 3, pressure is mounting, et cetera, et cetera. So this just came out. He just had his hot seat rankings that came out yesterday. So he has one coach. Have you read this?
No.
Okay, good.
I have not.
Yeah. Thank you for unmuting and letting me know.
You're welcome.
One coach with a rating of 5 in college football. Can you guess who that coach is?
Oh, man. I mean, my guess would be Billy Napier, but the way you're phrasing this question makes me think it's not Billy Napier.
It's not. Billy Napier, if he's listing these, I think he's listing these in order. If he's listing these, I think so. Then he has Billy Napier as his highest 4.
Okay. All right.
And by the way, Clark
go off
Lee.
the wall.
By the way, Clark Lee, if he's going in order, would be his 4th hottest seat with the 3rd highest 4 rating.
I'm going to go off the wall because I don't have an answer for you because my mind's not working. But I'm going to go off the wall for one that I could see getting fired if they don't win this year, even though the record would suggest that it's asinine to even suggest it, and that's Ryan Day from Ohio State.
Interesting. Yeah, Ryan Day is one of the most fascinating. First of all, he's on our discussion. He's right in the middle of it, and I'm telling you, the Vrabster, stay head on a swivel, Vrabster. Head on a swivel. We'll get to that.
Really went downhill after you wrote that piece.
I know.
By the way.
I know. It's all going to come back around. Don't worry. But yeah, the one coach he has with a 5 is Sam Pittman of Arkansas.
Okay, I can see that.
And it is interesting because
got Petrino back in the house.
Well, and that's the thing. As insane as it would be to me, although as perfect as it would be also in college football, that Bobby Petrino could again be the Arkansas head coach. He is now there as the OC, and at the very least, if it goes terribly this year,
he'll be the interim.
He's the interim, right? Yeah. So he's got Hunter Yurachek has this. I mean, if I'm Sam Pittman, I'd love to know all the discussions that led to Bobby Petrino coming in, because I'm guessing it wasn't all Sam Pittman, beating the drum.
That would be my guess.
So I think that's a good. I mean, you can make a case. You can make a case for Napier being just as much on the hot seat. He also has Dave Aranda. Then he goes to Clark Lee. So,
okay.
But yes, Pittman. Think about the transition for him and how fast. We talk about Deion's within 1 year. I mean, Sam Pittman not long ago was one of the toasts of college football.
Yeah,
but it went bad, man. It went bad, and this league that's what this league does to you. So now Ryan Day, I think absolutely is I think he has him as a let me see where he has. Yeah, so he has Day as a 3, which is pressure is mounting. I think you could make a case for Day to be a 4. But you're talking about an incredible offseason for them in acquisition. You're talking about Michigan defending national champ, defending as won the Big Ten, 3 years in a row? I mean, if he doesn't, forget the playoff. Of course they're going to be in the playoff.
Yeah.
And then what you do in the playoff, of course, matters. I mean, I don't know that he needs to win the national championship. He needs to win the Big Ten and beat Michigan. If he doesn't do it, I cannot imagine that he survives this year.
That's what I'm saying, because if you just looked at his overall record, you would say, well, what are you guys talking about?
Sure.
Because the overall record's great. But that place, we've talked about it. They have been basically the only recession-proof college football program for the last 35 years. And if you can't win against Michigan and you don't get yourself deep into a national championship discussion, you're going to be out at that place. I think there's pretty significant pressure on him heading into this year. I really do.
By the way, that recession proof, really, it's 60 years.
It really is.
Like, you go back to, like, in the mid-'60s, like, Michigan State was the better program than them, and they were but, like, you get to Woody Hayes and those great teams of the late 60s, it's been almost 60 years that they basically have been a random bad year here or there, and other than that, they are right there to compete for championships. So, yeah, he's a fascinating one. I also think Mario Cristobal at Miami is a really fascinating coach this year. It's an upgrade at coaching, and I think he's good. He's an amazing recruiter. They have loaded up again. Like the transfer portal was huge for them, and that was one of the worst instances of in-game coaching I've ever seen last year.
It's awful
when they lost that game. Like,
just take a knee.
And it's just been really disappointing. 80 million, 10 years, 80 million for Mario Cristobal. Cristobal and Napier. Is that week 1? Miami, Florida.
Yes.
Like, the loser of that game, man, it's going to get ugly and loud,
get hot
real fast.
I'll throw a couple at you that I think are pretty obvious in this discussion. One of which is, I think, an intrigue factor, and another that I think when we start talking about pressure, I think is still there. Obviously, Alabama with DeBoer coming in and replacing Nick Saban. There is a lot of intrigue there. I mean, we know
Fascinating
what that is, and you're following a legend. And how do you handle that in year one? And it's really like a 3 to 5 year, like, what's it – where are you taking the program over the next 3 to 5 years? So, obviously, that's very – I'll throw another one at you. James Franklin at Penn State. They're always good, never quite good enough. And, we thought last year maybe that was the team and a ton of talent. And it just feels like offensively they're always stuck in the mud and cannot get anything going through the passing game, especially. Penn State, I mean, they're going to be good. They're on the short list of like national championship contenders when you just go by the odds. I mean, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Bama, Ole Miss, LSU, and then it goes right to Penn State. Like, they're always on the short list. But they're one of those teams. It's a person, but it's just the first one that came to mind. They're like the Cowboys for me. They're always like in the discussion, but I never have any confidence whatsoever that they're actually going to break through.
Yeah, that's a good one, no doubt. And obviously, like, they've struggled. I mean, really, especially with Michigan. Yeah. But they've struggled for the most part. It's just beating those two teams, and the Big Ten with the East is has been an insane division. They've had a complete imbalance, which when they changed it, when they had legends and leaders, I mean, we made fun of it, but actually the divisions made sense. Like last year, it didn't, and the timing doesn't match up. They've had in the past amazing receiver talent, right? They haven't been able to put it all together. I think Drew Aller, it is Drew Aller, not Drew Allar, right?
I believe you're correct.
Like last year, he looked like a freshman, and but he's super talented. If they could have had him a year later with the defense they had last year, they might have been able to do it. Well, apparently, like, this is a guy who NFL scouts love, and there's a lot of talent. So that's a big one. This is, they're also one of those teams that, the 12-team playoff. Yeah, like in some ways, maybe it removes some pressure from a guy like James Franklin because they're going to get in. And if they don't, they're going to get in. Well, right. Yeah. If they don't, then it's a huge problem. But at least to get into the playoff. But I think they probably have to do something. And another guy I'd throw at you, of course, is Brian Kelly. I mean, Brian Kelly this year he totally changed up his, defensive coaching staff. What's that?
Brought his family down there.
Yeah, his family is family is with him. That's you can't, you can't. After you squandering what you squandered last year, you got to come the other way this year.
I'll throw one more very quickly your way before we get to Alex Doherty, which I think is just going to further the discussion of the NIL stuff. Dabo at Clemson. Big year for them. Like, can they return to being a team that is relevant in the college football playoff discussion?
Yeah, I think they can. I think they have the team to do it. But again, if not, then yes, it's already started to turn on him. But he needs this team to do that, reestablish Clemson.
Alex Doherty from the Tennessean coming up next. We'll get into all things Nashville Predators with him. Charles Robinson at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Thursday morning. Talking about Preds hockey. And to help us do that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our friend Alex Doherty from the Tennessean. Alex, good morning. How are you?
Doing great. How are y'all doing?
We're really good, man.
Good.
Appreciate you taking time to be with us. Alex, I want to start with a story you came out with yesterday at the Tennessean. For those who may have missed it, you can check it out at Tennessean.com. But former Preds captain Greg Johnson, who, as we know, tragically passed away from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. You came out with a story about him being diagnosed with CTE, of course, after his death. His brain was studied, and that was the conclusion that was drawn there. Just what did you make of kind of this story, your findings in all this, and the discussion at large with CTE, concussions, and the National Hockey League, and how that's all being handled as we move forward here?
Yeah, I think this makes the 16th or 17th NHLer. I've seen both numbers. I think Greg Johnson is now the 16th or 17th former NHL player to have been diagnosed with CTE. Now, I don't know where that compares with the NFL or any other sports. I know that a lot of sports are dealing with this now. The NHL has an issue here, and I think that Greg Johnson is a good example that this is not only about the fighting, right? This is not about punches to the head with the enforcers from the 80s and 90s, because Greg Johnson had one career NHL fight.
Yeah.
He was not a fighter. He was a very physical player. He was not. I mean, he along with Scott Walker and Legwand established the whole Predator way. Being a two-way forward, being defensively responsible, but putting in some goals too. And his physical abilities on the ice were just that's how he played. He was very physical. Of course, what I've learned in doing more research about this, and I think we're going to look at this more, is it's not always about physical, someone hitting you in the head. It's about acceleration and deceleration of the head as you are flying around the ice, and contact and everything. And I also talked to a former teammate of Greg Johnson's yesterday, or 2 days ago rather, who said that it wasn't surprising, because so many concussions just add up, and all the data suggests that more concussions you have, the more likely you are to experience CTE symptoms. But the story is very tragic. Greg Johnson, we remember his time here in Nashville, but he retired in 2006, and then 2019 is when he took his own life. That's a long time to deal with that. That's Wade Belak, if some people remember, his last game was in 2011, and his situation, he ended his life in 2011. It was not that long afterwards. He was dealing with these symptoms for a long time, and just my heart goes out to his family, Kristen Johnson, his wife, and everyone, and his two daughters, his brother. And it's just, it's terrible. You really hope that somehow, some way, the league can figure this out and prevent more of this kind of thing from happening.
What do you think that would look like, Alex? First of all, to your point, before you answer that, I think your point is well taken on sort of like the misunderstandings about this. I think with football, people think about the huge hits, but some of the people most vulnerable are you could take, that element out of football, and then it wouldn't look like football. But what do you think could be some of the answers in hockey?
I think the one thing they've already done is good, and that is the concussion spotter thing. Because I think in talking to former players, I think one of the things is when they get a concussion, they sometimes they don't know, and the symptoms can be seen by other people, but then they just want to go back in the game. They want to go back in the game, and that's going to make it 10 times worse. So I think that is something that needs to be used more, the concussion spotter thing. But I wish I had a better answer. I think helmet technology is one thing. I know that's come a long way. I know the NFL has their I don't even know what you call those things. Those helmet. What are those called?
Guardian caps. Yeah.
Yeah. that apparently the players hate because they don't look good. So that's good progress there on the issue at hand. But at least it's something, right? I mean, I don't know if the NHL could have something similar, but yeah, I mean, we have to get better at understanding what this is, and because look, it really affects players, and it affects some players differently than others. I mean, his family said that they knew that something was wrong, and they knew that his concussions that he suffered while he was playing in the league really affected him, but you just don't know how bad it is until it can be diagnosed. So.
Yeah, for sure. Transitioning from that part of it, what do you make of what the Predators have done on the ice with Stamkos, Marchessault, Shea coming in, and how does this elevate them in your mind, Alex, in terms of where they stack up among other Stanley Cup contenders in the league heading into this year?
I think they're instantly one of the better teams in the Western Conference. It remains to be seen how good. I mean, we really have to see this work first. But, I mean, I don't think they're as good as Dallas. I don't think they're as good as Vegas. I think Colorado is ahead of them. But after that, I don't see a lot of teams that stack up with them. I mean, people have put Minnesota ahead of them. People are still putting Winnipeg ahead of them. I think Nashville with these additions is at or above those teams. And then, of course, you got Vancouver and Edmonton. Edmonton is definitely above. I neglected to mention Edmonton. Edmonton is definitely above Nashville right now. But so what? They're the fifth best, sixth best team in the Western Conference. The Stamkos addition would have been enough to make them better, but they didn't just do that. They did Stamkos, Marchessault, Shea, and then even a backup goalie, and then of course bringing back Alex Carrier. So. I mean, those are huge additions. I mean, July 1 was the busiest day that I think I've ever had. I mean, these signings were just coming left and right. It could not. I mean, if it was, like I said, if it was just Steven Stamkos, it would have been a big day. But as soon as you find out about that one, then the next one hits. It was pretty wild. So I think it makes it better. I've been starting to look at lineups. I mean, I've seen a lot of people kind of constructing some lineups. I know I've heard you guys talk about the idea of. Should Tommy Novak be between Stamkos and Marchessault? I mean, there's a lot of options there. I think I've sort of played around with some things, but overall, the lineup is better than it was, a month ago.
I was just about to, before you went back to, I'm like, wait, do we have an Oilers hater on our hands, Alex Doherty? So of those teams you listed, the one that surprised me is you said Vegas is better. Do you think Vegas is better than the Preds still? I don't know that I agree with that.
I mean, I do. I think that they have a structure and their coaching is great. I can be convinced that they're not. I mean, I still think that they have a lot. I mean, with Jack Eichel and Mark Stone, I mean those two players alone make them very, very good.
How many players are going on LTIR? Have we factored
exactly.
that in?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
They have two different rosters, Joe. They got two teams over there.
that is a very fair point. Okay, can I follow up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, what do you think is the sort of roster move? Now, we know they have to get rid of somebody, but in terms of trading deadline, we've talked about the idea that Barry Trotz needs to gear up maybe to, address center depth at some point still. Like this may be where an Askarov, where some of that draft capital, whatever it is, and obviously you have to find that cap space comes into play. Is that how you see it playing out? That now to kind of, if they're really good this year, but maybe you can see that they still need help down the middle, that's sort of where it leads to some kind of a rental down the middle?
I haven't really gotten that far into looking at it. I don't think that they're gonna in any position right now to add at the trade deadline for like a center or something. But okay, so let me describe it like this. I think that it's really interesting that they made these additions, but didn't really address the top line center thing. I mean, like Stamkos is not really a top line center now. Marchessault's a wing. I think it's kind of interesting that was kind of like one of the big points, and Trust didn't really address that. What I think that means is I think he wants to see his lineup just be more interchangeable. I mean, Stamkos can play center. There's no doubt about that. I think you've got guys like Colton Sissons. I mean, the more I look at it, the more I kind of think Colton Sissons might be an option to play in between Stamkos and Marchessault, as opposed to a Tommy Novak. I know that Novak has the more offensive skill, but look at where Stamkos was playing last year. In Tampa, his number one center, his primary center that he played with most of the time was Anthony Cirelli, a player that I think is very comparable to Colton Sissons. So like that worked. I mean, Stamkos had 40 goals last year. I think that you could see a scenario where Colton Sissons is a top two center on this team, which may be surprising to some people because, you know, they made all these changes and then now they're bringing up top six center Colton Sissons. But I think it would make, you know, the Novak Glass Evangelista line come out, or Novak Tomasino Evangelista, whatever it is, if Glass is here or not. So I think the answer, my answer, Joe, is I think that the centers are on this team now, but I think that there's just going to be more players that are just more interchangeable. I mean, Stamkos can play center, Glass and Novak and McCarron can all play center, Jankowski can play center, Sissons. I think there's just a lot of different moving parts. Now that they have the weapons around the outside, I think that makes your centers better. So I think that's what they're going to do. Now, I don't know about the changing of the using the trade pieces and the Askarov and the draft picks. Maybe there is another move out there to get a better center depth player, but I think that they're kind of, this might be the roster we're looking at as we head into October.
Can't wait for the Stamkos, Sidney Crosby, Jonathan Marchessault line next year. It's gonna be awesome.
That's it. That's the move.
Yep.
Coming.
Draisaitl, add him.
Draisaitl, exactly.
Yep. Good stuff.
Just have to cut 7 players
between
now and then.
You'll see. We'll see what happens. Alex, great stuff, man. Really appreciate you taking time to be with us, and we will talk to you soon.
Definitely. It'll be here before you know it. Take
Absolutely.
it easy, guys.
Alex Doherty from the Tennessee and our guest on Robby and Rexrode. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode is coming up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Here's Commissioner Gary Bettman.
Hello, Columbus.
I'm going to egg your house.
Hello, Ottawa. I love your passion.
I'm going to egg your house.
Merci pour la bienvenue. Good afternoon.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. And I think we found a new favorite clip for Nick Keyser.
I didn't realize, you like that way too much, man.
He loves the egging the house.
I have options. That's just this week.
You have now played I'm going to egg your house like 19 times since I've said it.
Probably.
I like it.
I hope Katie's not listening. She got really mad at me for that. Like, I'm not actually going to egg anyone's house.
Let the record show that you did not egg anyone's house.
Well, no one set off fireworks.
There you go. Well,
I don't know if there's any sort of
maybe
cause and
somebody
effect
in
there.
Nolensville will test it tonight.
I guess what we'd also have to ask Gus too, because Gus knows. You told us that you would take Gus with you, so I don't know if you've ever vented to him.
Gus, my dog?
Yes, you said you'd take Gus with you.
Well,
To the perpetrator's house.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he'd probably enjoy little egg throwing. He very much doesn't enjoy fireworks. So, yes, if it ever happens, Gus will come with me.
It's good to know.
Yep. So I'll make this quick, and then actually I want to get into a little bit of what Alex said on the Preds there.
Okay.
But this whole thing brings up something that I don't think you can say this enough. And the thing that's really disappointing for Gary Bettman's perspective is that he said several years ago, he made comments about how there's no link and all this stuff between CTE and concussions. And, that was several years ago. And at the time, I thought those comments were dumb. And there's more and more, obviously, that's happening. This is another tragic situation here involving a former Nashville Predator. A year ago, Gary Bettman went on NPR and had an interview that actually got a little heated, which was good on the interviewer, A. Martinez, on NPR's Morning Edition. I'm going to read some quotes that Gary Bettman gave just a year ago. Here's a quote from Gary Bettman. Quote, "We listened to the medical opinions on CTE, and I don't believe there has been any documented study that suggests that elements of our game result in CTE. There have been isolated cases of players who have played the game who have had CTE, but it doesn't mean that it necessarily came from playing in the NHL." End quote. I don't expect Gary Bettman to sit here and say, absolutely, this is a huge issue. Look, people protect their businesses. I understand it. It's time to go ahead and pull back a little bit from this BS at this point, Gary, okay? And embrace the need to fully study this and understand it and show that you care about player safety. I mean, the NFL, they deserve all the criticism they got, and they resisted too. And eventually they got to the point where, well, of course, they got sued.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other story. But got to the point where it was understood that you must, like in 2016. So we're talking 8 years ago. The NFL did acknowledge the link between CTE and playing football, concussion protocols, player safety efforts. Those are happening in both leagues, but you got to acknowledge it. Like, enough of the BS. I mean, give me a freaking break. So I'd like to
It's
see.
all about the lawsuit, though, right? I mean, they're scared to death.
Again, and I understand that. Like I don't expect him to come out and say, we know for sure that if you're going to say what that quote that I just read is, then shut up and don't say anything.
Right.
That would be my advice to you. So that's what I have to say about that. On the Preds front, I think Alex and I are of the same mind. Colton Sissons, number 2 or 1 center, Nashville Predators. What do you say?
I say if that's the case, then the idea that I've thrown out there that you need to go get somebody else to play center at the deadline becomes even more important. That would be what I would say to that. And again, I'm not trying to bash Colton Sissons.
What a
because
Sissons
I love me
hater.
some Colton Sissons. I've spoken with Colton Sissons for a long time.
Number 1 center.
Yeah.
Hat trick. I remember that day. We were both in Bridgestone that day.
We were. It was a good day. Look, I like Colton Sissons. I think if Colton Sissons is your third line center, you're in good shape. If he's your fourth line center, you're in good shape. to me, that's still the biggest hole they have on their roster is another centerman. And I hear what Alex is saying about they didn't solve the number one center thing. That's a pretty difficult problem to solve. Like, there's just not a lot of those guys out there. So I still think long term, you got to get there at some point. Now, are they going to get there in the next 3 years in this window they've got right now? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think the shopping list for Barry Trotz at the top of it right now, if they're as good as I think they're going to be next year, I think at the top of that shopping list, you need to go ahead and get ready for a deadline acquisition of a top 6 centerman to come in there and play. And maybe your center depth, even if you do that, it's probably not going to be as good as some of your other Western Conference teams. Like, we know it's not going to be as good as Edmonton's. We know it's probably not going to be as good as some of your upper echelon center. Like, it's not, you don't have Nathan McKinnon walking around on your team. But if you could kind of deploy them where it's O'Reilly, maybe somebody comparable to O'Reilly in after that, and then you've got Novak and Sissons slotted below that, then I think you're fine at that position. So I think Barry Trotz needs to already be thinking about adding to that, and I think he probably is.
I think both things are true. I agree with you that that's got to be in mind for them. But also, I agree with what Alex said about. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Ethan Perry in the YouTube chat says, "I love Sissons, but he's a long ways away from Anthony Cirelli." But I get what he's saying, and I do think if you do that, and then you can keep Novak and Evangelista together, which was pretty effective in the regular season, at least last year. It was, there were some times when like their chemistry is pretty good. Then you have that third line, and you're thinking in terms of top 9, like Trotz always talks about.
Yep.
And I know that Colton Sissons is raising his hand right now and saying, "Yes, please let me play with Stamkos and Marchessault a little bit."
Yeah,
I can do it.
He could do it, and like, it's not like you're going to get burned with Colton Sissons out there. You need somebody that gets the puck to Stamkos and gets the puck to Marchessault. And as good as Colton Sissons is, and he's a really good player, I would not consider Colton Sissons at the top of the playmaking skill set list. Like, they need somebody to get them the puck.
But okay, so let's just make it a binary choice. Those are your wings. That's how you're doing it. You're keeping the top line together, and you're the coach. So, and it's your choice is either Sissons with those guys or Novak with those guys.
Novak.
Okay.
I don't feel great about it, but Novak. Like, because I know that Novak can get them the puck.
He's got a little bit more offensive juice.
Yeah. It's a big year. Like, you're going to find out a lot about Tommy Novak this year. I think, like, they gave him the contract. The contract is fine. Like, it's not a huge financial burden that they're paying Tommy Novak, but they need him. They need him to step it up. Like, he's got to be the best version of whatever that looks like for him. He's got to be that this year. And I think you're going to give him a shot to play with those two guys. And then if it doesn't work, then you go from there. Maybe you try Sissons. But his playmaking ability, I would at least start it there. That's just me.
What about you, Nick Keyser?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought for sure. I was signaling for break, but that's okay.
Just answer the question quickly. We'll go to break.
Besides, I go to break. You don't tell me when to go to break.
That's true. That's true.
Ooh.
That is factual.
He's still not answering the question.
I know.
We keep.
He's going to say
Parson.
Parson.
No, I'm not going to say Parsonen. No, Robby, I do think Sissons might be a better idea than Tommy. I mean,
2-1.
Tommy's going to need to have a bigger training camp for me to see more, to see
guys,
if he
Colton
can actually
Sissons
handle
is
it.
not a top 6 forward.
He's not. I agree with you.
Why do we keep continuing to try to put
Is
him
Tommy
in the top
Novak?
6?
Veterans with vets.
Tommy Novak?
Make more
Tommy
sense.
Novak is more of a top 6 forward than Colton Sissons is. But to answer your question, no, I don't think Tommy Novak is, which is why they need to go get another center.
They have 5 picks in the first 3 rounds. I think they can do it based off those picks from this year's draft coming up.
It's time to go to break.
Let's go to break. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you on this Thursday morning. We go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in, after a couple-week hiatus, our good friend Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. Charles, welcome back to the United States. Welcome back to the program. How we doing?
I'm surprised you guys weathered the 8 a.m. Thursday ratings dip that probably took place.
It's been a struggle, man.
Yeah,
Glad to have you back, though.
I know it's probably been, what are we going to do? This has been so difficult. I am happy to be back. We came back just in time to lose power on Monday morning, and we've been in a hotel ever since, thanks to hurricane crap. So just awesome vacation vibes completely destroyed.
Some of the obviously the videos and photos that I've seen from down there in Houston, I mean, look really bad. So thoughts and prayers to everybody down there. But the flooding down there at times, as you know, can get pretty hairy. Yeah,
I mean, it's every time it rains for more than 15 minutes, some part of the city floods. So that's been a wonderful thing to learn over the years here. So we're just the worst part about this is, like, before the hurricane season started, like, you know, everybody was advising the cities, like, it's going to be a really bad hurricane season, like, be ready for it. I'm like, we're on the B's. Like, we just started and we're on the B's, and it was like a category 1.
Yeah. And
this happens. I'm like, this is going to be an awesome summer. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, we've got a lot of different things that we've kind of thrown out there the last few days on the show. I want to start with you on this. I don't know, Charles, that I'm a huge believer in the Buffalo Bills this year. Now, a lot of people are, and I get it. They've got Josh Allen, and when you have Josh Allen, there's probably a certain baseline for how good you're going to be. But I, for one, would not be surprised if the Bills take a significant step back this year. Am I crazy? Do you agree with me? How do you view Buffalo heading into all this?
Well, I mean, the one thing I'll say about Buffalo is, you know, it's a really young team now. When you look at, you know, just in terms of like the experience that departed, they had quite a few players who, you know, Stephon Diggs, you know, Mitch Morse, Jordan Poyer. I mean, they were some team leaders and just really kind of cornerstone players all over the roster, you know, have moved on. And then when you look at what Josh Allen's going to have to do in terms of just raising the play of, I mean, look, at this point, let's say the top 5 wide receivers on that roster right now. Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, obviously a rookie, but who is basically being tabbed with being wide receiver 1 walking in. Khalil Shakir, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Chase Claypool. I mean, that's a lot of work now that Josh Allen's going to have to deal with. I mean, like a Patrick Mahomes sort of level last season, where, you know, you wonder how much the offense now is going to have to flow through, like Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, tight end position. And I just don't know that Allen, up until this point, has shown, if he's put into a situation where he's got to play hero ball, if it's his best aspect at this point in his career. So if I'm looking at them going, they're a little overrated, I think what scares me is that you're just putting Allen into a position where we questioned whether Patrick Mahomes could handle it last year, and he did. Josh Allen's never really handled it well in terms of, you know, a full season when he's had to play hero ball. There's been turnovers. There's been, you know, he takes massive hits. He's never shown the ability to really ride the running back position consistently. You know, and so those are the things that definitely make question whether people are taking it seriously enough that, and I know Diggs wasn't a huge part of that offense the second half of the season last year, but bringing in like Keon Coleman to me and saying, and they haven't been shy about it, like, hey, this guy's going to have to be a huge component of our offense right away. Well, you're trying to play him in outside receiver position, where in college that really he wasn't a big separation guy. And so I don't know, if you can't get separation in college consistently, how you're going to handle that outside receiver position now that you're coming in basically being asked to be, you know, the top dog in a wide receiver group. And I think a lot of people I talk to around the NFL, they're like, you know, that kid would eat if he was a slot, you know, a big 6'3", 6'4" slot player who's got great hands, he could really flourish. And instead, the Bills are like, nope, he's got the body of an outside receiver, an X receiver. We're going to have him as an X receiver. So automatically, the biggest sort of component that you're adding to that offense, I question whether he's going to end up playing in the right position on the field schematically or not. But if again, you're going to question the Bills, it's all about, can Josh Allen take this, put it all on his shoulders, and not be the guy that he has historically been in terms of being like turnover prone and some of the decisions he makes and the hits that he takes. And up until this point in his career, and I like Josh Allen, he just has not shown the ability to carry an offense the way that they're going to ask him to carry the offense this year. This to me is akin to, as close to maybe his first couple of years in the league, the surrounding talent, asking him to do a lot. We're sort of back there. The only difference is he's got a little more experience now, obviously.
So basically, it sounds like you somewhat agree with Robby on that. Is there any, maybe if I ask you a team or more than one team on each side that you look at, Charles, that you think, how about one of each that you think might be way underrated and might be way overrated right now, if that comes to mind for you? This is going to be, people are not going to like this, but what makes me nervous about in terms of like way overrated teams, I'm not saying Detroit is way overrated.
Yes, that's the answer.
No,
Rexrode's already gone there, so just double down on it.
Just listen to me for a second.
People who grew up in Michigan know.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, like here's the thing. Like, a lot went right for Detroit last season, right? And a lot went right for Houston last season. They put a lot of things together, and I always get nervous about teams where and they're both immensely talented, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, how many green lights did you catch? And how are you going to now react to, Detroit last year was sort of this dark horse darling where it's like, hey, this is a dark horse Super Bowl team. We really like Detroit. We like the run they went on at the end of the 2022 season. Completely different animal now. People are looking at Detroit going, this is your best shot to win a Super Bowl. So I think the pressure, ticket prices are jacked up. Like, it's as juiced as it can be for Detroit and those expectations. And again, Joe speaks to it. I speak to it because we grew up in sort of the environment of watching this franchise and being so used to, when everything feels like it's at its apex, the franchise takes a step back, if not implodes. I don't think they're an implode team, but I wonder if this is going to be a little tougher go than people expect in the NFC for Detroit next year. Because I'm looking at like, and I know it's just off-season power rankings or whatever, expectations, but even like betting lines, all these different things. I'm seeing Detroit like 2, 3 in terms of like Super Bowl favorites.
Yeah.
Like, man, that is rich. Like, and I get it. Great season last year. It was a lot of fun to watch. But okay, let's just from a basic standpoint, you think the defense got a lot better. Well, you have 2 rookie DBs, Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw, that are going to be asked to do a lot, right? I'm not huge on cornerbacks who have to walk into a defense and might be your second and third corners on your defense, and the rookies. Like, there's going to be a learning curve there. There's a ton to like about the roster, but they make me nervous. I mean, Houston's sort of the same situation. A lot broke right for them in 2023, and CJ, like, to me, I'm like, all right, CJ Stroud, everybody now is just looking at you like you're that upper echelon quarterback. You're a top 5 quarterback in the league. Let's see, because it just makes me nervous. The heaping I've seen on those 2 franchises, both, it seems like they're both like top 5 in everybody's ranking, top 5, top 6. This just feels a little rich. Maybe a little underrated. God, I hate doing this because I'm always on with you guys and I always talk up the Titans.
Oh,
yes.
my
Everybody
goodness.
thinks I'm doing it because of the
WHMR
spot.
all day long.
Everybody thinks I'm doing it because of the spot. It's not it. I really think the Titans, to me, I see them, everybody's like bottom 3rd, ranking them like 25th to 32nd. Like everybody looks at Titans and says like this is a team that, to me, per the rankings, people are like this is like a 5-win team, maybe top 6-win team. I think the offense could be a lot better than anybody realizes, especially if Will Levis isn't getting hammered constantly behind that offensive line. I think things could change really significantly. I think people are underrating the addition of, L'Jarius Sneed, which, it feels like in some ways that's sort of been lost because every time people talk about the Titans, it just turns into this Will Levis conversation. And then, okay, the depth at the wide receiver, there are too many guys, whatever. But I just look at the coaching changes that have happened there. Again, the offensive line coaches brought in, the additions that were made. I probably like Levis a little more than other people after watching him last season. And then, the depth at wide receiver. I just think offensively, this team could be a world better than people expect. And I just don't see a team that's like 26, 27, 28th ranked in the NFL. And yet that's how I feel people kind of look at the Titans. And I'm still perplexed about it. We've had the conversation about why do people hate Will Levis so much, but love Anthony Richardson so much when you look comparatively at the resume they put together last season. So, I like the Titans, but to not be a complete and total ridiculous homer, maybe the Falcons.
Okay.
I think that
Michigan State homer. All right, it's all coming together.
All right, there you go. Look, let's be honest. Like they've had talent, for a couple of seasons running. What they haven't had is just consistency at quarterback. And I think as long as Cousins comes back, obviously from the torn ACL, like I think the Achilles injury, the torn Achilles. I think if he brings the consistency to the table that he brought to Minnesota, I don't see Atlanta being, a bottom 12 team, and they're a team that, again, when I look at people's off-season rankings, I see a lot of bottom 12, sort of pinning for Atlanta, particularly in the NFC South. I'm still kind of like, I still think it's a crap division right now, and I don't know if I really even believe in Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield yet. So the overall talent level and the swap out at quarterback, I think, still matters more than people maybe are giving it credit.
Charles Robinson with us here on Robby and Rexrode. So, Charles, we were talking earlier, just kind of leading into college football season, about Colorado and the Deion stuff and the pressure on that team heading into this year and what we're actually going to see. Shedeur Sanders, how do NFL people view him? What's your take on the type of pro that Shedeur Sanders projects to be at this point?
It's not. What's wild to me is it's just not as consistent as I think it's portrayed when I look at people looking ahead to like the 2025 draft. And there's projection obviously, and there's arguments about how good is this quarterback class, all these different things, and but I see a lot of people are like, Shedeur Sanders easy, top 2 pick, top 3 pick, top 5 pick. And then when you talk to people around the NFL about the quarterback class next year, he really has some significant detractors. People are like, the vast majority of his throws are so short and limited in that offense that, they just don't look at his statistics as being what they're all cracked up to be. And, obviously offensive line problems across the board there. I don't want to kill the kid here because he was working with a lot of difficulty in front of him in terms of protection. But I think this idea where people are like, well, he's potentially the number 1 overall pick and he's this dynamic quarterback who makes all these plays. I don't know that I don't want to say every NFL. I just think it's a far more of a 50-50 split when you talk to people across the league about what he's really, truly accomplished, what he's really, truly capable of in terms of the next level, and just the array of throws that he can make, the size. There's just far more questions than I think all the Shedeur Sanders and obviously Deion's probably really even capable of listening to, because I feel like that's another thing too. Every time he gets criticized by anyone, whether it's players or, I just feel like there's this crackback constantly. whether it's from Dion or all these other people around him, that's also probably not a great thing either. You know, you don't want a quarterback who's being completely insulated by his dad/head coach all the time, and the fan base constantly trying to insulate him from any criticism. You know, he's got to be able to take criticism and grow, whether it's from, how he carries himself or, the expansiveness of the offense he's running. It's just not the cut and dried Shedeur is a top 2 or 3 pick when you talk to teams about the quarterback class next year. So I will say this though, some people love him, some people really don't like him. Some people compare him to, like, I had one guy who was like, I don't know, he reminds me a lot of like what Mitch Trubisky was, the first couple years with the Bears. They feel like he's got those limitations. He does have, some versatility he brings to the game. He is probably I think definitely a better thrower, a more complete thrower probably than Mitch Trubisky, but you get nervous when the bulk of the offense is just super short stuff. And, he's going to have to show an ability to I think just expand really the number of throws that he can make and the consistency with it. So we'll see where it goes, but it's going to be a controversy. You guys talked about him earlier today. I mean, what was the exchange about Shedeur today?
I'm feeling really good right now. Charles not high on Buffalo like me, and I am not convinced that Shedeur Sanders is really that good.
I'm higher on him than Robby. Now, you did say though, and you're texting me, I mean, there are some teams that do love him, right? I mean, it's just
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it depends on, and it's probably fair to say this about every quarterback now. It kind of depends on what you like to offensively scheme, and how you if you're a general manager, an OC, or head coach, how you think that person, that player can fit into what your scheme would ask him to do. And there are a lot of schemes now in the NFL where a bulk of it is predicated on, fast, short decisions, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands, and then just letting other playmakers, do their thing. And frankly, I would argue, look at Brock Purdy. A lot of what Brock Purdy runs in San Francisco, it's not this huge array of like downfield stuff constantly. And Brock Purdy's been a very, very successful player on the NFL level. He's headed toward a $50-60 million a year contract at some point if he keeps this up. And so, it's not, I think the detractors are people that are going to look at him and say sort of the typical thing. I want a quarterback who can hit the deep middle. I want a quarterback who can hit the 10 to 15 yard out route to the sideline. I want someone that isn't throwing a lot of screens. And they're going to look at him and they're just going to say, I haven't seen, the remarkable slate of, and then also I think some kind of complain about, the downfield accuracy. I have not, by the way, to be completely fair here, I'm not sitting here saying I've watched all this Shedeur Sanders film and, I'm not one of those analysts that's, I'm not going to be telling you guys about all the film I've broken down on him. I have not done that. I try to listen to people who have. And another thing too, I will say we're still early in the process, and I hear quarterback opinions change pretty significantly over one season's time. So people love him or hate him at the start of the 2024 season could completely flip by the end of the season. I mean, Drake May to me was a great example that, even Caleb Williams was a great example that people never would have questioned those players prior to the 2023 college season. It was a little bit of a different, scenario by the time the season ended, just predicated on some of the flaws that they exposed over that.
So quickly, Charles, let's stick with this. I'm just wondering what you've heard, because I'm a little on the flip side of this. For me, I'm a little not underwhelmed. I think he's a good player, but Carson Beck seems to be a popular pick as the top overall pick. I think it's fair. I think we'd all agree this is not the ballyhooed celebrated QB class that the last one was. But what are you hearing or thinking about Carson Beck?
Prototypical. He's got prototypical size. He's got great arm strength. I mean, elite level arm strength. His, the steps that he's taken have been measured up until this point for Georgia, but that, this is going to be that season that I think everyone really expects him to tear the top off and flourish and be like a Heisman Trophy type candidate for them. He hasn't, up until this point, he hasn't been asked to do a ton. He's had a ton of talent around him, but this year, I mean, he's clearly the centerpiece. And not only that, I mean, I think the NFL expectations up until this season have been muted, right? I mean, he's not really somebody who's been in that conversation, but because the quarterback class for the 2025 draft is the way that it is, everybody's searching for a star, who's the clear cut number one, and he's already emerged as that. And again, I think it speaks to the typical sort of box that everybody wants to put quarterbacks in. As much as the league loves the way that the quarterback position has changed in the NFL and the versatility that's come into it, and the different styles of players who now can flourish in the NFL, everybody still wants, I don't want to say everybody, but the drooling always starts over the 6'3 plus, 215, 220 plus player who's got a great arm, who can stand in the pocket and make, throws consistently. And I think that's what teams are projecting out of Beck and want out of Beck. And I would say that him being the number one quarterback right now is a projection. It's not a lock the way it was with Caleb Williams last year. Different situation. He could be number 4 by the time the season's done.
Well, Charles, all is right in the world once again. Thanks so much for taking time to be with us this morning, and we will talk to you next week.
I appreciate it. Joe, stay away from my house.
Yeah, no, good luck getting back in your house. Also, take care of Caroline Fenton. You got a good one there, a good friend, Caroline Fenton. So
I appreciate it.
Awesome deal.
Absolutely looking forward to getting to know her, and I appreciate you giving me the heads up on that. Joe knows about hires before I do, so
that is true.
All right,
Gave
guys,
you the memo.
Rexrode is our insider. Charles Robinson, our guest on Robby and Rexrode, joins us every Thursday morning at 8:00. I mean, the takeaways I have from that, Joe, is I am very smart. Charles is not as high on Buffalo as I am, not high on Buffalo either. And people have questions about Shedeur Sanders.
What about my smartness about the Lions? They're going to suck. And Charles and I both
You
know
both
it.
are from Michigan. Yeah, I mean, you have to think that way.
Well, some people would say we'd have to think the other way.
True. That's true. We'll react to what Charles had to say coming up next. Take your thoughts. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. I got some tickets to give away, a pair of tickets to see, or not to see, I guess you will see it, but to experience Holiday World and Splash and Safari in Santa Claus, Indiana. Be caller 3, 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Caller 3 will win a pair of tickets to Holiday World and Splash and Safari in Santa Claus, Indiana.
See, hear, touch, smell,
Taste.
all of it. That too.
Free soft drinks up there, you know.
That's pretty sweet.
Free soft drinks.
Pops, free pop. Good. It's in Indiana. It's free
I'm
pop.
sure somebody up there probably calls it pop. Yeah.
That's right.
Free sunscreen as well. Free parking.
Nice.
Just
I
throwing
gotta
it out
get
there.
up there, man.
Holiday World's good stuff. Call
Hopefully,
3,
Nickelback will be playing that
615-737-1025.
day.
Here they got a great drone show up there too. That's a new thing nowadays. People are moving away from fireworks shows, going to drone shows.
What is that?
It's just you have a bunch of drones in the air. They can make a bunch of different shapes, and Nashville Fireworks did one too. It was like you can make like Star Wars stuff and all kinds of stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Look it up.
Okay.
Google.
All right. That sounds cool. Check that out.
615-737.
I like lighting stuff on fire.
Yeah.
And
The
throwing
pyromaniac
stuff.
in you, and DJ
Yeah.
Burnside has photoshopped a nice picture of you egging a house on Twitter.
It looks like I'm juggling eggs, kind of,
does.
but yes, I sent that to Katie, and she said it's dumb. That rant was dumb. Thanks, Katie. Love you too. You know, we've been egged and TP'd many times.
Yeah.
These
The egging-
teenagers, you know, they get into these little battles, and then we are the ones who
Yeah,
suffer from it. Why can't we throw eggs?
The egging is always a little much to me. Like it's,
Yeah, I suppose.
you know, like that's egging is when I will punch you in the face. if you like, we call it rolled down here, TPing, same thing. But if you rolled the house, that's kind of funny. Like it, you know, it used to be
That's mostly what
it used to be a badge of honor back in the day of getting your house rolled. I mean, my friends and I, we rolled a good friend of ours one time, and our friend's mother bought us 250 rolls of toilet paper.
Wow.
And boy, did we sling that thing around. And then we had to clean it all up because we got caught by the police.
Did you ever roll Taylor Swift's house?
We did not. They
Okay.
had security.
I guess that makes sense.
But we could have. Knew exactly where it was. Could have
Yeah.
rolled right down there, but didn't do it.
Yeah, no, I one time just walked into like the backyard. I heard a little commotion, and on a flock of high school girls were rolling my house.
Yeah.
And then they saw me, and they immediately ran to the car that was like parked kind of like down the street a little bit, you know.
Was it somebody's mom in the car, or was it?
I don't know.
Drive there
I didn't
themselves?
chase them down. I was
Okay.
just like, all right, cool.
The egging, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a little
it's
extreme.
much. Yeah.
But again, just don't. All you gotta do is not set off fireworks after July 4th.
We had it was called junior senior wars back in high school, and it was like mostly harmless pranks like
Mhm.
that. But there was somebody that poured Sprite in the gas tank of somebody's car.
Whoa,
and that did not go well.
oh no,
Did not go well.
that's not where you want to pour your pop.
That was not a good call.
Jeez.
So there were some problems that were caused on that one.
Yeah, people take it a little far sometimes.
There was this happened at my high school too, that somebody brought in some goats and painted 1, 2, and 4 on the goats, left out the 3. So everybody was wandering around the school searching for the third goat that didn't actually exist.
Oh,
1, 2, and 4. It was good stuff.
that's kind of clever. I kind of like that. Where's goat 3?
We can't find it. We found 1, 2, and 4. We can't find 3. It's good stuff.
Goat number 3. That's probably about where Tom Brady is, maybe somewhere in there.
Jeez. Oh, we know he's behind
Either
Dan
he or
Fouts.
Dan Fouts.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. Anything in particular stand out to you from what Charles had to say? He did agree about the Detroit-Houston angle. And I brought up Houston earlier.
Yeah.
Like Houston is going to be universally picked to win the AFC South. They're going to be a very popular pick to do some damage in the AFC. And I believe that they are fully capable of doing all those things. And I'm going to pick them to do. I mean, I'm definitely going to pick them to win the AFC South. And you brought up earlier, there are people that think they may be the second best team in the AFC. I think I might believe they're the second best team in the AFC. Baltimore is right there too within that discussion. But I do think that people are anointing CJ Stroud a little bit too quickly as like a surefire elite player. He played that way last year. I do need to see it a little bit longer before I'm willing to just say that that's what he is in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that they could be a little bit disappointing, certainly for people who think that. I don't think they're the second best team in the AFC, but I'll be very surprised if they're not good. I mean, they should be good, but I think they're an obvious pick for that kind of team, the kind of team that can disappoint a little bit, just like I think Detroit is. I'm with Charles. I mean, I think they got some breaks last year. The schedule's a lot harder, and I mean, if you're going to rely on rookies in the NFL, corner is one of the places where it's like, if you're good enough, go in there. And we've seen plenty of rookie corners in the NFL come in and make a difference.
Sauce Gardner's pretty good as a rookie.
Right. Now, to his point, they got two guys that they're immediately saying, please make us better right now in this defense. And if you're relying on two, you could see where that could maybe be problematic at times. They're very good roster. And I think they'll make the playoffs. But yeah, I think they're a team that's probably going to disappoint a little bit.
Charles pumping the tires of the Tennessee Titans for underrated heading into this year.
And the thing is, and this is where everybody who has come at us, and I get it, and said, well, you guys and your Nashville radio show told us how, this defense is going to be good, and wow, they're going to come back, and they're being way slept on, and then they stunk. And you're right. But Charles, first of all, he actually did the same thing last year, so I don't know what that means. Charles just has become a huge Titans homer. But everything he said about the Titans makes sense.
I agree.
I mean, the offensive potential turnaround, they've invested a lot in that happening, and obviously it's going to come down to the QB and the coach. Start with those two people, but they've done a lot to make it possible. And I just think a lot of the NFL media at large, and to Charles's credit, whether he's right or not, he has looked deeper. They haven't really picked up on that.
I would agree. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Got more tickets to give away right now to see the Nashville Sounds take on Iowa today at First Horizon Park. Be caller 5, 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. You'll win tickets to see the Sounds tonight take on Iowa at First Horizon Park. More coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. The Game Summit Tour is back. Join our very own Big Joe Dubin, Yazoo Brewing Company at 900 River Bluff Drive in Madison on Thursday, July 18th from 4 to 6 p.m. as he gives away tickets to upcoming concerts in Nashville, including Def Leppard, Bush, which is all over, Train, Dierks Bentley, and more. Get signed up for the grand prize, tickets to a Preds home game, Sounds game, and to the Big Music City Grand Prix. For more details, visit thegamenashville.com/tour.
Of those, sign me up for Def Leppard all day, baby.
I mean, Def Leppard's pretty good stuff. Dierks Bentley, I like him. I don't know if I'm going to sit through an entire Dierks Bentley concert, but
Okay.
Train, decent.
I think I only know one Train song.
Okay.
Well, I forget what it is, but I
the
remember
opportunity to
that
learn
they
more.
had a song that I knew.
Okay. And then you love Bush. We know that.
I will say that actually, like, I would go to this concert with Kaharski and his brother was sneaking booze in. I mean, to see the Kaharski brothers sneaking booze in to a Bush concert.
I didn't know that Koharski even approached concerts that didn't involve Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. We need to remember next week to have your take about Bruce Springsteen stink.
Yeah, I mean,
Who stinks more, Springsteen or the Beatles?
Probably the Beatles. It's pretty close though. You know another one that I really just can't for the life of me understand how he ever became popular? I think Bon Jovi's awful. Like the voice drives me nuts.
Yeah.
It's a different time. I get all that.
Yeah. I mean, that first album was a big deal. I was never as in love with all of it as other people.
My musical takes eventually are going to really piss people off. That's fine.
Well, I will
cool
tell you, like when Bon Jovi was like the absolute, I mean, I was like in 8th grade. They absolutely took over the world. Like I would have popped in some Cinderella for some Bon Jovi at that point. So I mean, that's kind of a hot take.
The triumvirate, like the Bruce Springsteen, Bon Jovi, Beatles hate. I've got to be one of the very few people on the earth that just really has no time for all three.
You're the only person probably who has ever grouped those three together.
I would imagine so. I mean, I've got some more I could throw in there too, but I got some musical hot takes.
Your Beatles take is actually worse than the music that Creed produces. So that is hard to do, buddy. Congratulations.
53 million copies would tell me otherwise. A lot of Creed.
I mean, I guess
I'm
I
sure
could
the
look
Beatles
up
are in
the
the
Beatles
billions,
sales.
but,
Yeah, I mean, whatever that's worth.
Yeah,
it's about the quality of the
it's
music.
about the quality of the music. You're correct.
It's art.
It is art. 615-737-1025. Our phone number 615-737-1025. Big League Designs on YouTube says overrated Dave Matthews Band and U2.
Yeah, shut up, man.
Caleb also says the Beatles are terrible on
good.
YouTube.
Okay,
I'm glad I can continue to inspire people.
This is great. We just have fantastic music takes going on here. Good God.
You know who's great though?
The people you're just coming at me because you know I love these bands.
Beatles are bad. Bon Jovi's bad. Bruce Springsteen's bad. Blink-182 is pretty good.
Yeah, no, this actually segment should go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Actually, Caleb,
see you guys there.
Caleb does say play more Rush. I like Rush.
Yeah, Rush is good.
I'm with you on Rush. Caleb also pointed out, by the way, and I didn't know this, but thank you, Big League Designs. Beatles are amazing. I mean, they're the best band ever. Like, let's just stop this madness. Caleb does say Big 12 writers picked Colorado to finish 11th in the Big 12. LOL. Is that right? They picked them 11th. Earlier we had
they're not very good.
We had what was it? Chef Rand saying
Yes.
like who's gonna beat them?
Who's clearly better?
Who is going to beat them in the Big 12? Okay,
4-8 last year, guys.
Why does the YouTube chat go crazy when we start throwing around bad music takes? Yes, Blink-182 better than the Beatles.
I agree.
Lop or whatever your name is.
Thank you, Lop.
Okay. I mean, we don't need to get me. I've already
Green Day better than the Beatles.
Sure.
Let's keep them going.
Sure thing. I've already got an air conditioning unit that's broken at home, by the way. I look forward to Busy Bee. I have put in a service order, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Look forward to working with them today and coming back tomorrow and tell you how awesome they were.
Yes.
You get that AC going. I'm sure Katie's enjoying it right now as the day gets hot.
The over-under win total for Colorado on FanDuel Sportsbook is 5.5. Like, they were the biggest story in college football for about the first 5 weeks last year. Is that how much interest is going to be around like how well they do this year? I mean, there's a natural pull that Dion has. And I think to a certain degree, like Shadour's starting to have that. And then Travis Hunter, I think you can make the argument that Travis Hunter is the best player in college football. I mean, he's darn good wide receiver, darn good corner. But again, though, like I don't know how good they are. Like they may win 6 games this year, maybe. So how much pull do you think they're going to have in the national conversation this year?
Well, I think they're as interesting starting out the season as anyone because of him and just all of the stuff that's gone on. And then they may fade into irrelevance. If they fade into irrelevance this year on the field, then you're immediately getting to, okay, is this it? Is Deion just plopping in, parachuting in, making a lot of noise, making some cash and getting the heck out of Dodge? I mean, I don't know. I am back on, like, I've completely 180'd on Deion from like when they were 3-0 last year. I'm like, it's just not going to work. He can't, the way he's doing things is not going to work. It's not sustainable. I don't believe it is, but we'll see. So I think that they actually will be in the discussion because either they're going to be good.
Yep.
And I don't discount that. Again, if the improvements that he is suggesting this week at Big 12 Media Days are true, then they do have some top line players. And then if not, if it's bad, then I think you're really going to get to, well, first of all, the way he started to melt down last year with all the stuff with his OC and everything, I mean, it could get ugly.
Yeah. I mean, they're fascinating. There's no doubt about that. We went through the Big 12 earlier, and I listed off, I think, 9 teams that are ahead of them just by the betting odds to win the conference. It's, to me, you've got to win. His opportunity to win, quote unquote, big is this year, right? When you've got Shadour and you've got Travis Hunter, and because as you talked about, they have basically taken the approach with high school recruiting that is, doesn't really matter. We'll just build the team through the portal.
Or the way they have brought in some good recruits. Someone pointed out, Chef Rand pointed out, Brad Seaton, the big time OT that Tennessee wanted. I mean, they brought in some good recruits. Don't get me wrong. It's not like they're not recruiting, but it's not what you would expect it to be. And yeah, his approach over time won't work. I mean, the portal is very important. We're not going to see a team win big in college football ever. Put me down for this, ever. That is primarily focused on the portal. Georgia, I heard Big Joe and Jill Jones talking about like there won't be any dynasties left in college football. We can maybe get into this a little bit tomorrow, actually. And I disagree. I mean, Georgia still and Alabama, like they still dominate high school recruiting, and that's still the bulk of their top players. And even if they lose players, it's usually because they're not going to play there, and they just go in the portal and then they go ahead and select who they want to enhance their roster.
Lennon Humphreys, come on down.
I think we'll continue to see dominant programs be dominant programs.
Well, and Georgia, by the way, has a chance to win again this year. They're the favorite to win again this year, and that would be 4.
Right? Yeah.
Right. So.
Now, again, I think what Joe's saying is like down the road as we move forward. I just disagree. I think that I'd love to see more parity. I hope we do. I hope we see more random teams that come out and all this money and take. But I don't know.
Should tomorrow be Bleak 182 day on the show? I think the YouTube chat would suggest that that's a good idea.
If you want me to stroke out on a Friday, sure.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Your thoughts all show long, all day long today on 1025 The Game. Chasing Big Joe show coming up next. You're listening to 1025, 1063 The Game.